Welcome to the MS Gym podcast. I'm your host, Jody Feltham, and it's about to get real as we listen to the victories and struggles of our own MS Gym members. So let's dive in. MS can certainly throw a monkey wrench into our plans, but it doesn't mean that we give up on our hopes and dreams. I hope you'll be encouraged and you will celebrate with our guest today as we learn more about her deeply meaningful accomplishments and her exciting new plans for the future. Hello, MS Gym family. Thank you for joining me for another podcast with one of our wonderful MS Gym members. So today we're actually talking to Susan Jancour Rowan. So Susan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Susan, how did MS kind of show up in your life? How did it kind of interrupt things for you?
I was a runner and I didn't know it was called drop foot. But when I would run after a while, my foot would drop and I would start tripping. And I had fallen a lot because of that. And so I didn't know why my foot was dropping. I kept thinking, well, I broke it when I was little. Maybe it's just that. But my sister did have MS. But it still wasn't on my radar. I still didn't think that that's what it was. And then my right thigh started getting numb. Couldn't figure out why. So then I finally called my sister and said, she lives in New Hampshire and I live in Connecticut. So it's not like I saw her all the time. But I called her up and asked her, I explained my symptom and asked her if she thought it was anything. And she goes, oh, it sounds like MS. It sounds like what I have. I'm like, okay, great. But so it was easy to diagnose once I went to the doctor and they said, I told them my sister had it and they were like, did an MRI right away and I was diagnosed pretty quickly.
Okay. So how old was your sister and how old were you when you were diagnosed then?
We were both about 32, 33. Once we both were diagnosed, my mother was like, oh, she pulls out this paper and she's like, I forgot when my sister had brain surgery when she was 12. And she's like, oh, I totally forgot that on the surgical notes, it says possible MS. She was 12.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my parents, back then there was nothing to do anyway. My parents just ignored it. Nobody ever said you should go take her to a neurologist or get it checked. But then when me and my other sister were diagnosed, my mom went to that sister and said, you may have MS. And she did have neurological problems, but we just always thought it was due to the brain surgery she had.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So it sounds like there's a strong genetic link in your family then.
Yeah. And then 7 years later, my brother is 7 years younger than me. So 7 years later, my brother was diagnosed with MS. So all four of us.
Wow. Okay. That's challenging, for one family member, but for four, that's a lot to take on.
With none of it beforehand. So it's not like we knew, we could possibly get MS because my mother has it or my grandmother has it.
Yeah.
It wasn't on any of our radars. None of us had it.
Wow. Okay. So you're a big runner. These symptoms come up, you get diagnosed. How does that affect your day-to-day life? What does it change your career or what were you doing at that point? What happened?
At first it didn't. At first I was still running, even though I would fall and my people would say, you have to stop. So I kept running. I lived in a colonial. I had to climb up 12 stairs to get to the main floor and then 12 stairs to get to the bedrooms. I did that for 7 to 10 years. I thought, oh, it's no big deal. I'll just keep going. And then things started getting worse. And I had to stop running because I fell way too often. And so that wasn't safe anymore. And eventually we moved to a ranch. So I didn't have the stairs to climb. And career-wise, I was a teacher, but I got passed up for a lot of things because they eventually knew I had MS. So it's kind of obvious there was something wrong with me. And so, that was challenging, for people to think I can't do stuff because I have MS. So that was tough.
So When you said people notice, was your walking, like you're not obviously running was a problem, but like walking was visible to other people, the struggles that you were having?
Yes, I walked with a limp. I I didn't know it was called peg leg.
Okay.
Now I do. Um, so I would peg leg a lot. Um, it was definitely noticeable. My balance was off, so people could think I was drunk or on drugs, because I wasn't that steady. So it obviously kept progressing worse and worse.
Okay. And when did it, so 32, and then you said like 7 to 10 years, and then you moved. When did it kind of progress to the point that you needed some sort of intervention? I don't know whether you took medications or what was kind
I
of,
took medications right away.
okay,
And then he just kept adding to that. So,
okay,
it was just, you need one injection. Back then, Copaxone was every day. So I would take an injection every day. And then he would add more medication, more. I took all different things by mouth. And then he ended up putting me on Cytomedrol all the time. And
mm,
then it was a monthly Cytomedrol, 1,000 milligrams Medrol, I was on Cubicin, I was on IVIG, um, and then, like I said, a bunch of oral pills. And so I did HSCT 4 years ago,
mhm.
and 4 years before that. So it's been 8 years now that I started to use a cane and then progressed to a walker, um, in order to work.
Okay. Okay. Are you still working now or
No,
no?
no,
Okay. Okay.
no. When I went for the HSCT, I retired.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, where did you go to Russia or Mexico for your stem cell?
Mexico.
To Mexico, okay. And I actually think you went probably about 4 or 5 months before I went there. But I have been following your journey ever since then, and you've had some pretty, shall we call miraculous or amazing accomplishments that you've had on your recent trip. I have to say, my jaw dropped open and I turned a little green when I watched you, walking along without trekking poles or a walker. Like I was proud. I was so proud of you, as another human being and as a person that struggles with MS. Like I think you must have put so much time and effort and training to get your body strong enough to do something like that.
It is. It's tough. And sometimes it's very exhausting. You think, I just want to not do this anymore. It took a lot of concentration. But my one goal, which is sounds so stupid, I go to church every day. And
Mhm.
my one goal I wanted to do is be able to go up for communion without anything. And I finally did that. And I did it a couple times. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Can't I walk into church with nothing? And I'm like, oh, let me try it. So I walked into church with nothing. I go to my pew, I sit down, I'm praying, and I went, oh no, I have to get back to my car. I don't have anything. But I went up to communion, got back down, sat at the pew, or was at the pew. And like I said, I kind of freaked out. How am I going to get back to my car? And I thought, well, there's people I know, and worst comes to worst, I'm sure somebody would help me. But I said, no, I'm going to BGV the whole way. I just have to concentrate. And I did it. And so then I started doing it on my own. And so not every day. Today I used the trekking poles, um, because I got out of my car. I started walking towards the church and I said, I don't think I'm quite ready. I don't know if it was just too busy of a weekend.
Mm.
So I went back to my car and I got them because I was like, I just can't make it. So I do it, and I try to do it a few days a week, where I now walk into church and then walk up to communion with no trekking poles or anything.
Wow. That actually sounds like a really meaningful goal. The fact that, you talk about going to church every day, obviously that has deep-seated meaning to have that kind of freedom in there. And so that's amazing. Like, and I know other people around you. I think I even read one of your posts in the MOC that someone else from your congregation actually came up to you at one point and commented on how much better you're doing and how much better you're moving and walking. Like that must have filled your heart up so full.
It does. It's just amazing when they come up to me and they say, "Wow, you're doing so good." As a matter of fact, it must have been Friday. I walked without anything, and one of the gentlemen there go, "Look at," as I'm walking out of church. He's like, "Look at you." He's like, "There's nothing in your hand." He's like, "This is amazing." He goes, "You're doing so good."
Mm,
So yes, I have the backing of them. Like they get so excited to see me do so well, which is exciting.
for sure. And that must be added motivation, right? On those days when you're like, oh, I don't want to exercise, or I don't want to push play, or I just want to kind of do nothing. And then you think back to, these victories that you've had and the encouragement from others as well. So how did you find the MS gym in the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I found it before I even went to have HSCT. And I just felt like I needed something. I needed some sort of exercise. I knew that you do so much better, your body, if you move. My sister had stopped moving. And so she started to progress. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep moving as much as I could. And so I just kept going as much as I could. And then I found the MS Gym and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to sign up for this. This is like amazing. And obviously the program was so much different back then.
Hmm.
I like the new 2.0 even better. I like how it's integrated. I like how it gives you the neural snacks, the neural flows in your program. Where before I used to be done with my program, go, okay, what should I do? Well, I have knee kiss, knee hyperextension, peg leg. Okay, I'll try this one today and this one. I was like all over the place. And it's so nice to have them right there for you now.
And I agree that the change in 2.0, I know there's growing pains when we switch from kind of the original one to the 2.0, but like just the amount of people getting victories and successes and stuff from this new system. And like you said, there's no more guesswork. I know for myself, I used to feel so much pressure, like, okay, well, I have to figure out exactly which circuits I should do each day in order to get better. And if I don't, then it's my own fault that I feel like I'm getting worse. Like it just the mind games, and it just makes it easier when it's all laid out for you. It's like
Mhm.
you just have to commit to doing the exercise, but you don't have to go searching all the time for things. So,
Right. That's what I love about it.
mhm.
It's right there. I don't have to think anymore or worry. Or like you said, say, "Ooh, I didn't do it right. It must be my fault." And but if it's still there, if you want to do extra,
For sure there is.
if you want to do extra, you just go find it. Like it's not like you can't do it.
Mhm. Yeah. So you've had some great walking goals and some great walking accomplishments, and this accomplishment at your church, and kind of an ongoing thing. It's encouraging if you're there so often that there's always that encouragement to keep growing. And then you've also grown in wisdom to know today I might need my trekking poles. I need to be safe, right? What other goals do you have for the future? What longer term goals, whether traveling or anything like that? What are you working towards now?
Well, what I would love to do is my son and daughter-in-law are finally pregnant. Well, she's finally pregnant.
Okay.
She's 12 weeks. So we're praying that she can, hold on to this baby and deliver it. But what I want to do is I want to be able to take care of it. I want to be able to have it over. I want to be able to play with it. I want to be able to carry it. I want to be able to hold it. Like I want to be part of its life. You know, and I'm not saying you can't be part if you're, in a wheelchair or using a walker or struggling, but I want to feel comfortable and confident to be able to care for the child. Um, so that's my main goal. I mean, that's what I want to do. Besides just do everything else. And let me give you a for instance. Um, and these are just little things, but I never could carry my laundry basket. What
Hmm.
I used to do is I used to lay my clothes on the floor and roll them up. And then I would carry the rolled clothes to the laundry room and do the laundry. I didn't have enough strength or the ability or figure out how to do it to put this stuff in the laundry basket and carry the laundry basket. I can do that now. I can put the laundry in the laundry basket and carry it. I have to go through, like, my bedroom, the foyer, the kitchen to get to the laundry room, and I can do it now. I couldn't do that before. We have an instant pot that I use, and I used to have to remember to ask my husband to get it in the morning if I was planning on using it for dinner.
Mhm.
And now I can pick it up. It's in my pantry. It's actually on the floor, which is kind of crazy, but I have to pick up it's very, very heavy. I have to pick it up and then walk I have to go from the pantry into the kitchen, put it up on the counter,
Mhm.
and I can do it now. Um, so just so you ask what I would like to do besides taking care of a grandchild, if I have one. I would also like to just be able to do normal everyday activities, like doing the laundry or getting the instant pot out of another room.
Mm. That's awesome. And it's like life goals. And, someone who doesn't live with a chronic illness or MS, people just take these things for granted. It doesn't even, like, it's not even a thought, but just obviously the determination on your part to do them, but just the joy inside. I'm sure you probably did a little dance when you walk the laundry in the laundry basket and pick that up, the Instapot across the room. Like, it's just, we have like this built-in sense of gratitude for little things in life that other people don't even think about. When we can accomplish these huge things, where our hearts are so full of joy and gratitude for it. So I think that's obviously, wanting to engage with your new grandbaby and stuff like that. Obviously, that's very deep seated. But I also think, like, when we're saying about just everyday activities of daily life, like just being able to do these things with the Instapot or the laundry, like those are huge goals and huge accomplishments too. So I think, you said that there's small things, but for us, I don't think they're small things at all.
Yeah, they're big.
I think they're huge for sure.
Yeah, well, now my husband comes home and he sees the instant pot out and he goes, "How did it get here?" I'm like, "I did it." And he's like shocked. He's like, "You did it yourself?" I'm like, "Yes, I can do it now." Like,
Yeah. So funny thinking all the times when you're younger and stuff, you think, oh, I don't want to do chores. And then when you get MS and then these things become difficult, you're excited to do chores again and you feel like it's a privilege to do them. How
yeah,
perspective shifts so quickly.
definitely. I mean, this weekend, Saturday, I guess it was, because we're having renovations in our house. It's like a mess all the time, and
Mm.
we've been kind of, why even bother, vacuuming the floor or washing it? But it got so bad. I'm like, I really need to wash the kitchen floor. My husband says, "Oh, wait, and when I get home, I'll help you." But I did it. I moved all the kitchen table, kitchen chairs out of the way. I got the big bucket out with the mop, and I did the whole kitchen floor. And he comes home and he goes, "Oh, you look exhausted." I'm like, "Well, yes, I did the whole kitchen." He's like, "You did it by yourself?" And I said, "Yes." So, and it just makes me happy because he works so hard, and for him have to come home and
Mm.
then do this, where, I mean, I hate to say I should do it, but I used to do it. Um, and if I can't do it anymore, I feel guilty that he has to pick up the slack for things that I used to be able to do.
Mm.
So it's nice that I've gotten better, that I can now contribute more,
Mhm.
like I used to do.
And I imagine that builds your confidence hugely,
Yes,
obviously in your abilities, but also, in what you contribute to your marriage and stuff. And obviously things do change, right? We don't necessarily get to decide our mobility level or, how things progress. And sometimes there needs to be a shift in how we feel like we contribute, because sometimes it looks different. But I imagine that doing the floor and stuff like that, it would shock you and impress you, but I'm sure your husband was like tickled pink or over the moon that you were able to do that.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you said, how do I feel about doing it? And here's chores, like, oh, yippee, I got to wash the kitchen floor. But I was so excited. I was able to do it. I was able to move all the stuff. I did the floor and actually waited a while. He was gone for quite a while. And then it was dry. I was able to put everything back. And so it didn't even look like I did anything when he first walked in. And I'm like, yes, I did the kitchen floor. He was like, oh my gosh. So it's just, very exciting.
That's awesome. So what kind of advice would you give to someone, because you've been like you've been diagnosed for what, over 15 years now? 15.
Since 1997.
Okay, so for quite what would you say to someone who's kind of newly diagnosed and kind of unsure of what to do, whether, advice about, what you did with medicine or not medicine or lifestyle or exercise? Like, what advice would you give to someone who's newly diagnosed?
Well, the big thing is movement is key. I mean, you really need to get moving. And I'm not saying you need to run a marathon, but you need to do something every day, all the time. Um, Diet is really important. I don't eat gluten or dairy, and I know different people could do different things in their diet, but I think, being mindful of what you eat is really important. And medications, just check on which kind of medications, and not every medication is going to work for every person. So
Mhm.
you just need to find the one that's going to work for you. Um, and of course, for me, HSCT was something that was really good that I did, because that halted my MS, which is amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's great that there's so many different tools in the toolbox, and not everyone pursues the medical route, whether it's actual MS drugs or HSCT. But it's nice to know that there's more and more options
Mhm.
available for those that do wish to pursue that kind of line of treatment. So do you have any advice for people that are just starting the MS gym? When they get into the program, they get totally overwhelmed. What would you say if, like, say you're someone in your family started the MS gym, or a close friend? What would be like the advice that you'd offer them?
You first need to listen to all of what Trevor has to say to begin before you even start exercising. So when he has all those things to listen to, and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta listen to more, you have to listen to it. I listened to something today which was amazing. And I never listened to it before. It was, it was a new part of the program, listen to this first. And I listened to it and I was like shocked. And it was talking just about, working out laying down or sitting compared to standing, and how important that is. That you don't have to do everything standing. Just because you want to stand doesn't mean you have to work out standing. I just thought that whole thing was amazing. And so you really have to listen to what he has to say. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to listen, it's so long, and I just want to get to the workouts. No, you have to listen to what he has to say, because what he has to say is so important, and that will help with what you do when you exercise.
Yeah, and I agree. There's so much good educational content that Trevor puts in there, and I know for so many people, it's like you said, like, I want to stand, I want to walk more. So why am I exercising laying down, or why am I exercising in a chair? But it's so much more than that, like what we perceive in our minds. Like, there's a lot of trust involved, trusting that Trevor's, has over 20 years of experience and all the training he's done to know what it is we need. Because oftentimes we don't know what we need. We just know what we want to do, but we don't know necessarily the steps it takes to get there.
And when he says it, sometimes there's a little light bulb that says, oh, so this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's so important to listen to everything he has to say.
Mhm. So, Susan, thank you for chatting with me. Is there anything else, any other parting words or advice or life lesson?
One more thing is that buddy groups are so important. I
Mm,
have two, and they are invaluable. I mean, we post about what we do during the day, how our exercises have gone, if they've gone bad. It kind of helps us, what should we do? Bouncing ideas off each other. Just being cheerleaders for each other. They're just so important. And so if anybody out there, who is thinking about getting, joining a buddy group, they really should do it, because it's just so important.
That's wonderful that you've got two buddy groups, and it sounds like It sounds like you're very active and engaged with them, and I know, it all depends on people's willingness to participate, but I think it's so important to have that motivation, and I don't know, have you ever met anyone from your buddy group, or are they all over the States?
The one of the buddy groups we meet on Zoom, like a Zoom, well, let's say Facebook, um, uh, every Wednesday.
Mhm.
So, we get to see each other all the time. The other one, we don't meet as often. We used to meet like once a month, but it's kind of gotten a little less. So hopefully it'll pick up again. But I've never met anybody in person yet, but we would love to. But the one buddy group is all on the East Coast. Um, and so that was good because we meet every day at 1 o'clock, so nobody works. Everybody's about the same kind of ability level. And again, we're able to meet because we're all on Eastern Standard Time, and we meet at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, and it works out really good. Um, but no, I haven't actually met physically anybody.
Okay.
I hope to one day, though.
I imagine so. I know it's fun in the members only corner on Facebook when, obviously before COVID, when people were able to meet up and just people posting the pictures, it kind of feels like when you meet someone that you've been talking, it feels like it's like a long lost family member, a long lost friend, because there's this connection in this journey, in this struggle that we have living with MS. There's a special bond that you have with another person that who gets you, who understands you. So I can see, even if at this point you're not able to meet up with them, just knowing every Wednesday that you're meeting up with people that have your back, that are going to be like, okay, Susan, how's your exercises going? And if you say, oh, not so well, I'm not feeling motivated, they're gonna light a spark under you. Come on, Susan, you can do it. You've beaten this before, and you've overcome that. So I think it's so important to have the encouragement, but also to encourage other people as well. So I'm so glad that you have those buddy groups that you connect with, and that it's filling you up. And I'm sure, the feeling is mutual. I'm sure they're so glad that you're in their group encouraging them too. So Susan, thank you again. It's been great talking with you, hearing about your journey, and looking forward to seeing your posts. And hopefully, in the next 7 or 8 months, we'll see a picture of your little grandbaby,
I hope so.
and you holding the little grandbaby. So that will be exciting. It has been. Um, we've seen many people like with similar goals of you having new grandbabies out there, and so excited to hold them, and that being the motivation to keep
Mhm.
having them press play, keep pushing forward in their exercise. So I hope you can go out and enjoy the sunshine today if you have sunshine where you are.
Yes, we do. Yes,
That's good. And I know you've done quite a few posts. You have a very long driveway at the front of your house, and I
I
know
do.
there's a lot of good walking practice there too.
Yeah, and it's a very big hill, so it's gets tough.
Yeah.
But because we have all these workers here working on our house, I have to park my car down the hill. So that's been good practice. So in the morning before church, I have to walk all the way down the hill and get in the car, and then after church, I have to park down the hill and walk all the way back up. So it's actually been good practice.
Wow. Wow. It sounds challenging, but it sounds like you're up to the challenge for sure. So,
And I wouldn't have been before Trevor, let me tell you. I would be complaining to my husband, I'm stuck in the house now until they're done with all the renovations. I wouldn't have been going up and down. I would have complained and moaned, and I can't believe I have to walk all the way down the hill. This is horrible. And now it's okay.
yeah, that's great. All right. Well, Susan, take care. And
Thank you.
again, look forward to seeing more of your victory posts in the MOC.
Thank you.
Do you want to give a voice to your own story or learn more about the MS Gym? You can check us out at themsgym.com.